What if the person you thought was the least important in the room turned out to be the only one who truly cared about your soul? What if, in a single moment, the quiet voice of someone unseen saved you from losing everything, not just your money, but your freedom, your dignity, and your future? This is the story of Alina, the billionaire girl who thought she had everything, until a cleaning man whispered the words that made her world stop: "Don't sign this contract." And what happened next would change her life forever. Alina Devereux was the girl every magazine adored. She was only 24 and already one of the youngest billionaires in the world, inheriting her father's global tech empire when he passed away unexpectedly. She lived in glass towers above the clouds, wore dresses that sparkled under camera flashes, and walked into every room as though she owned the air people breathed. On the outside, she was untouchable. But on the inside, Alina was hollow. Her father had been the one person who saw her not as a fortune, but as his daughter. Without him, the board of directors closed in like wolves. Every day, she was buried under stacks of contracts, partnerships, and obligations she didn't fully understand. Everyone wanted something from her: her money, her name, her signature. She often felt like she was drowning in polished marble offices where she was surrounded by sharks in tailored suits. On a stormy Tuesday evening, she sat alone in the skyscraper boardroom. Before her lay a thick contract from an investment firm. They promised to expand her empire tenfold. They promised safety. They promised the world. All she had to do was sign her name. Her advisors whispered that it was urgent, that she should just trust them. And Alina, exhausted from months of grief and isolation, held the pen in her trembling hand. She wanted to believe them. She wanted to believe that this signature would silence the chaos in her life. But then, a voice broke through the silence. "Don't sign this contract." Alina froze. Her heart jolted. Slowly, she turned. At the far end of the boardroom, pushing a mop across the gleaming floor, was the cleaning man. His uniform was faded, his hair streaked with gray, and his presence almost invisible, until now. His eyes, however, burned with urgency. "What?" she whispered, still gripping the pen. The man looked at her as though he could see through her. "That paper isn't what it looks like. They're not giving you freedom, they're taking it. Don't sign it." Her advisors laughed mockingly, brushing him off like dust. "Ignore him, Miss Devereux. He's nobody. Just the janitor." But Alina couldn't ignore it. For the first time in weeks, her hands stopped shaking. She set the pen down slowly and stared at the man. Who was he? And how could he possibly know what was in front of her? The cleaning man simply nodded once, as though he'd said enough, and continued pushing his mop as if nothing happened. But Alina's world would never be the same again. Chapter 2: The Truth Behind the Whisper. Alina couldn't sleep that night. The words, "Don't sign this contract," echoed in her mind over and over again. She pulled the document back out of her briefcase, scanning the pages she had been too tired and too trusting to read. Her stomach tightened. Buried in the fine print, she found clauses that would hand over controlling rights of her company, her father's legacy, to the very people who had been urging her to sign quickly. If she had trusted them blindly, she would have lost everything. Tears burned her eyes. She felt betrayed, cornered, and foolish. How had she almost let them rob her? And how had the cleaning man known? The next day, Alina returned to the office, not as the hollow girl the board thought they controlled, but as someone searching for truth. She waited until the evening when the building grew quiet again, and there he was, pushing his mop, humming softly to himself. "Why did you stop me?" she asked. The man looked up with a gentle smile. "Because I knew what they were doing. I used to sit where you sit now. I was once a man who signed papers without reading, who trusted too quickly. I lost everything. My family, my company, my dignity. And now," he glanced at his mop. "Now I clean the floors of the towers I once owned." Alina's breath caught. This man wasn't just a janitor. He was a fallen giant, someone who had walked the same road she was walking, but stumbled where she still had a chance to stand tall. "Why would you care about me?" she asked softly, her voice cracking. He met her eyes with a steady gaze. "Because someone should. And because your father once helped me when no one else would. I owed him. Maybe now. I've repaid a little of that debt." Alina's heart swelled. For the first time since her father's death, she didn't feel alone. This man, a stranger in the eyes of everyone else, had given her something priceless. Clarity, courage, and a reminder of who she was meant to be. The next morning, Alina walked into the boardroom with a fire in her eyes. She tore the contract in half before the directors, stunning them into silence. "I am not here to be tricked. I am not a puppet. This company is my father's legacy, and I will protect it, not sell it." The room shifted. For the first time, they saw not a grieving girl, but a leader. Weeks turned into months, and Alina worked harder than ever, this time not to please others, but to learn, to fight, to grow strong. And through it all, she kept a friendship with the man who had saved her from a silent trap. He never asked for anything in return. He only reminded her, now and then, that true worth is not in wealth, but in wisdom. And so, the billionaire girl who almost lost everything discovered the most important truth of all: sometimes the people who seem invisible carry the brightest lanterns of guidance. And sometimes, the smallest whisper can save a life. Never underestimate the quiet voices around you. The world may tell you to trust the loudest, the richest, or the most powerful, but sometimes, the truest wisdom comes from those no one else notices. Always read before you sign. Always pause before you trust. And always remember, the people who seem like nobodies might just be the ones who save your everything.